Welcome to the Love, Purpose, Connection podcast. I am your host, Estelle Bingham, and together we'll be delving into the profound meaning of love, the driving force of purpose, and the beauty of connection that shapes the fabric of our lives. In each episode, I sit down with some of the most inspiring individuals out there to understand the ways love has touched them. My guest today is a multi-Sunday Times best-selling author, sought-after speaker and host of one of the UK's #1 spirituality podcasts. Her mission is to help people align with the rhythms of the universe, reconnect with their soul's potential and purpose, and create a life of greater flow and success. She's here to talk about her new book coming out soon called Your Cosmic Purpose. Kirsty, you're here.
I'm here.
At the Love, Purpose, Connection podcast. I'm super excited to have you in the studio today. And also to congratulate you on your 6th book.
Yes.
And I've just finished writing my first book. So I kind of really,
Wow.
How is it, having written your 6th book? How does it feel?
I mean, it feels amazing that people are still on a journey with me, because it does feel like a journey that we've all gone on together, like my little community. And it always feels like an achievement because, as you'll know, well, I've felt it differently, but writing books is not an easy process for me. And I go through an awful lot of, especially with the first few, a lot of imposter syndrome. And then you get that moment where you go, oh my God, no one's going to read it. No one's going to read it. And then you're like, people might read it. And you don't know which feels worse, whether people are going to read it or no one will read it. So it's always a big process for me. And when it gets this time now, the book comes out the 4th of June. This is where I get really into the I've got a book coming out. And everything starts to build up and amp up. But yeah, it feels incredible to have, number 6.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And what inspired this book? Because obviously, like you say, there's been a journey. There have been 6 books. There was the amazing book about the moon in the pandemic, and that was incredible. And you've got the Goddess Path. And why this one at this time?
I mean, my honest answer for that is that I don't know, but it's making more sense now. So a lot of my books are almost channeled, and this book was probably the hardest to write because it made no sense for a really, really, really long time. It made no sense of what the book was meant to be about. I'd pray every day of please help me. What's it? Because that's what I do for the writing process. Is it's not about me and all the work I do. It's not about me and what I want to say and what I think is a relevant thing to say. It's about what's needed in the world right now. Where are we in the world? What's needed? What do people need? How can I serve? So my prayer every day would be please help me. What's it need to be? And it really came through towards the very end when it suddenly all started to make sense and come together. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. And there's even bits in the book now that I'll go back and read, and it's almost like I don't remember writing them. It came from somewhere else,
Absolutely.
And then I can tell the bits that human me got a bit involved, and human me was like, I'll write this bit, this will sound good. So I can almost see the bits in there. And I guess now we're getting closer to the book coming out and we're seeing the way of the world right now. I really feel, hope, pray that this is going to be a book that will really help people at this time in our current evolution.
Your book's called Your Cosmic Purpose.
Yeah.
Let's understand a little bit more about what's in there, what to expect.
So living from the inside out, trusting in the process, dark night of the soul, how to meet the universe halfway and surrender the rest. So it goes into all of those different areas of how we can begin to do that. And then the third part is about astrology for your soul. And so it goes through in there in much more detail about your big 3, which is your sun, moon, and rising sign. Because they also lead you towards more of your purpose by giving you, we all know our sun sign, right? It's in the paper, we flick to that thing, we look where we are. But that kind of pop astrology doesn't really give an insight, whereas when you start to look at your big 3, which is your sun, moon, and rising, it helps you to really gain a deep understanding of who you are, why you came here, and how you can become more of you. Because very often your sun and your moon sign can almost feel a little bit in conflict. So there'll be a part of you that kind of wants this and another part of you that wants that. So the more you can learn to nourish and nurture your moon, the more your sun can shine. And then your rising sign is the part of you that you easily show. It's who people meet when they meet you. So this is why sometimes you'll meet someone and then when you get to know them, you say, God, when I first met you, I thought that you were like this. And actually I got to know you when you're totally different because you meet their rising sign. So meeting kind of these 3 areas of yourself, really, for me, it gave me permission to be myself. It gave me real permission to be of like, oh, that's why I'm that way and that way and that way. So I really wanted to explore a lot more of that in the book to help give people that deeper understanding and then therefore self-acceptance of all parts of themselves. And so it's fun as well to blame astrology for things, isn't it? Like, oh, it's my moon sign's fault that I'm like this.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
We need something, we need something sometimes, don't we? Mercury retrograde.
We need something to say. We need something to say. So that sounds wonderful that's a section in the book.
Yeah.
Really a real help for people.
That's it. I wanted to bring it to life personally because all the other sections are great. You can read them and go, okay, yeah, but it's when you get into that astrology bit that you get to really understand you and how it relates to you. And so, yeah, there's a whole chapter on it in the back.
So a little bit about your journey to this moment and these 6 books and this, what was it like for you? When did your first awakening happen or your moment where you were nudged as a child or as a teenager or later on in life? Where did it kind of all start for you?
So it started, I dedicate my book to 2 incredible women who are with me every day but no longer with me on the earth. My great-great-auntie Mabel and my friend Sharon. And they were both pivotal to an awful lot of my journey. So my great-great-auntie Mabel, she was psychic, she read tea leaves, she did tarot. And when I was little, I adored her. I'm talking a little girl, 8, 9 years old. I used to sit at her feet and just gaze at her. She used to teach me how to read people's handwriting and always had, I have her tarot now. We found them the other day. They're 100 years old.
Wow.
And they've got her handwriting on the back of them. And what's really beautiful is that my book got a tiny bit delayed, the date that it was meant to come out. And it's now coming out on the 5th of June, which would have been her 108th birthday.
So that's perfect.
And it was like
that's
she was.
It
was like she was giving the nod of like,
absolutely,
it's going to come out of my bed. And 108 as well.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I love those
so
numbers.
Beautiful. So she really got me into that understanding that there was something more to life, that there was this whole spiritual realm that was out there, and I spent an awful lot of time with her when I was younger. I've got a feeling she maybe got me into astrology, but I remember getting my first astrology book at like 13 and being fascinated, and then around the same time getting my first crystal. And I guess then I've always been a why child. Even to this day, I don't follow rules very easily at all. I need to know why. Tell me why, and I'm going to be okay with that. I can't just blindly follow things. I didn't understand system structures unless they made sense. Because to me, there was just this whole other realm out there that I was tapped into. And then Sharon, who was the other person the book's dedicated to, Sharon was one of my best friends. And Sharon was this light in the world. Like, she lit up a room like you've never seen. And she'd had a really difficult life, single mom. But she loved life, loved life. And she unexpectedly died very young. It was an overnight thing. We'd been out. She got up the next morning, had a really bad headache. Hours later, was in a coma. And I was convinced that she was going to be better. And I remember going to see her in intensive care and being like, you've got to be better for the weekend. And then they turned off the life support. And it was one of those moments in life. Yeah. It was one of those moments in life, though, where she had an open casket at her funeral. And so I went to see her and put a crystal in with her and a letter in with her and looked at her face. And I just remember thinking, that could be me. Like, that could happen to any one of us at any time. And suddenly, all the stupid stuff I worried about, just seemed to fade away into the distance of like, why am I wasting my life worrying about all of this ridiculous things? And I've been in a relationship then, that had been a beautiful relationship, that had been a very kind of soul journey relationship where we'd really learned a lot together and grown together. But I just deep down knew it wasn't right. And to the outside, everyone was shocked when we broke up, because to the outside world, we were perfect. But deep inside, and now understanding about soul contracts, I just realised our contract had finished. Our soul contract had finished. We'd done what we were meant to do together. And so I came home after her funeral and broke up with him. And I remember the words I said to him. I said, I set you free. And in doing so, I set myself free. And in breaking up with him, I'd never felt trapped by him. We'd had, like I say, this beautiful relationship, but it felt like a freedom. And then I went on a really big deep dive I became a regressional therapist, crystal healer, Reiki healer, spiritual coach, started to do Kabbalah and anything I could get my hands on, just really. And I made Sharon a promise that I was going to start to now live for her, to do what she could no longer do and to do what I'd always really wanted to do, and that I would make my life a real legacy to her, because she helped so many people in her own way. She worked very much in the disabled community. She did sign language. She worked with a lot of young, deaf children. I was like, in my own way now, I'm going to go out there and really make a difference in the world. And that's been my journey from then. I went to India, lived in India for a year, became a yoga teacher. It's all evolved from there. Started living with the moon around the same time I lived in India. And then it's just been this beautifully guided journey now that's brought me to here.
Oh, wonderful. Love hearing about that. Amazing. And that's thank you for sharing. This idea and the idea of being guided by the moon as well, that's massive for me. It's huge for me. This year's been quite a crazy year, hasn't it? 2025.
Yeah.
When it comes with all the eclipses and all the kind of everything, people are really being turned inside out and upside down. What's happening there?
So we've never, ever seen a year like 2025 astrologically. We can't find it.
No,
we can't find.
That's the crazy. Yeah. That's the crazy. It just doesn't exist.
We can't find.
Like, there are all of these firsts, aren't there? It's just.
And so what we're going through at the moment is just this really big evolutionary process of calling us all now into our highest timeline and highest version of ourselves. And as we've mentioned a few times, that can in the process feel, and one of the ways I describe it best, and it actually came to me a couple of days ago in a healing I've gone through, is that right now we're all like 20 watt light bulbs and 100 watts is trying to come through us.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So that light bulb
looking to burst through.
It's going to,
Yeah.
And so there has to almost be a moment of kind of the shattering of that so something can be rebuilt to hold that energy.
Yeah.
So we've got immense solar flares happening at the moment that I know a lot of people are really, really, really feeling. That the amount of solar activity coming onto the earth at the moment is huge. And when we look at what solar flares do, solar flares help to activate light codes within us. They awaken dormant DNA. They're helping to activate our light bodies so that we can hold more of this wattage and we can hold more of the energy of our souls. And so we've got not only the solar flares, but all the outer planets changing signs, as you mentioned. We've had, those eclipses were wild. We've got more coming in September, just so everyone's like prepared. We've had the shift in lunar nodes. We've had all the personal planets retrograde around the same time. We've had planets dancing over the very end and very beginning of the zodiac wheel, endings, beginnings. And so it's like a choice point of, okay, you can choose to continue living in this life where we blame everybody else. It's everybody else's fault. We're waiting for the world out there to change before we can have what we want. We're always in that kind of more victim mode of like, it's out there's fault. Or we get to go, okay, challenge accepted soul. I'm going to start to create the world that I want to create. I'm going to start to live the life that I want. And I'm going to start to be the inspiration for everybody else around me to do the same.
I love that. And that's the message of your latest book too.
Yeah.
That's what we have to bring through.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of what we're getting right now. Is that this is the download and really the inspiration to reach as many souls as possible. Hi, it's Estelle here, and I'm so excited to share my new book with you, Manifest Your True Essence, Clear Your Blocks, Find Your Joy, Live Your Truth. This is more than just a book. It's an invitation to come home to your heart. Within its pages, you'll find the guidance to reconnect with your true essence. Through gentle meditations, heart-centered practices, and soulful wisdom, you'll learn how to release old patterns, embrace your divine spark, and manifest a life filled with love, purpose, and connection. Remember, you are love, you are light, and you are infinitely powerful. Because where do you feel we are at this in our current evolution, Kirsty? What are your feelings on this?
I mean, I understand completely it doesn't feel or look like it, but this is such an exciting time to be alive. It's such an exciting time. We're in one of the biggest shifts of consciousness that we've ever been through. And it is an awakening. It is a shift. And I know that you'd look at the outside world and think everything's crumbling and falling apart, but it has to. It's meant to. There has to be a crumbling and a falling down and a falling apart for something to be rebuilt. And we live in a world now that's very much built on those kind of more toxic, masculine, patriarchal structures, greed, power, control. And that's what's starting to crumble now. And I think more and more people now are realizing their own true deep connection to spirituality, source, God, goddess, whatever name you choose to give it. I think there's a lot more realization now that there is more to life than we've been led to believe. And so if we can see beyond the crumbling, we can see that what's actually happening in that is a reawakening. And one of the really big things I keep trying to say to people at the moment is, if that tough love way, no one's coming to save you. And what we really, really need to do right now is stop looking to the outside world for answers and approval and validation. So the whole time you're sitting there saying, well, if only there were a different government, my life would be different. Or if only they would stop behaving like that, my life would be different. Or if only they weren't in charge, my life would be different. And if only that would happen out there. And we're giving all of our power away to this external world. When we take back our power and we start to live from the inside out, and we start to become the source of what it is that we want and need, and we start to reconnect back to the divine, we realize how powerful we truly are. And the reason things feel a little bit scary at the moment is because they are unknown. The future's unknown. And that's because we're creating that future right now. Like, we're actually creating the future. And that, to me, is so exciting. It's so exciting, the time that we're in now, where we get to make real shifts and changes, but it starts with us, and the change has to come from us.
Absolutely. It really does, doesn't it? And it's sort of, it is as an incarnation, all of our lifetimes, you know, we've chosen this particular lifetime, and it's really profound in a lot of ways, and also, you know, has the makings of something scary, you know, because it's obviously at this time there's an assault on humanity, isn't there? And from the outside, whatever that looks like, so all of those pieces. But then if we kind of think about what is on the outside, and the idea of the external not being really, you know, it's a sort of, it's what the most important thing is what's on the inside, and our relationship to, you know, our inner world, like you say, our relationship to God, source, whatever that feels like for you. And this time is really about breaking free, isn't it?
Absolutely is. It absolutely. And I say that to everyone. I say your soul has chosen to be here at this time for a reason. And don't get me wrong, there's moments over the past few years I've said to my soul, like, really? Really? Why now? Why now? But we've all chosen to be here at this time. And the more we can begin to play our part in that and really take back that self-responsibility, and that's a lot of what this next book is about. It's about that almost a walkthrough of, okay, that sounds great, but how do I do that? And so it takes through kind of a step-by-step process of how we can begin to live as a soul, having a human experience, and really then reclaim that power back over our own lives.
So what are your steps, Kirsty?
I mean, there's so many in the book, but I mean, I think the first one to me is that understanding of what's the ego, what's the soul. And I go into that a lot in the beginning of the book, because there's a lot of wording, I think, that gets thrown around in the spiritual world particularly. There's a lot of, spiritual hierarchy in some ways as well. And I want to make everything really real and relatable so everyone can take something from it. So it talks through the beginning about what's our ego, what's our soul, what's the universe, what's higher consciousness. So we can really begin to understand what it is that we're beginning to work with. And then the book just takes through processes of things like living from the inside out. How do we begin to live from the inside out once again, trusting in the process? I talk through the dark night of the soul, which, I mean, I went through one of the biggest ones I've ever been through in writing this book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. And I've been through a few,
Yeah.
but the one in the writing of this book was deep. It really was. And it was actually so, as we know with everything when we come out the other side, I'm so grateful for it, because it was a moment where I was writing a book about everything happens for a reason. Your soul has chosen this life for you. Everything you're going through is helping you to grow and evolve. And there was moments when I was like, well, I don't want what my life's chosen, what my soul's chosen for me right now. Like, this life is not the one. What I'm going through right now, that's just not it. And so it's this real moment of testing of, do you really believe in everything you're writing about? Do you really believe? And this is that moment where we can all talk a good talk, but do you live it? Do you believe it? And I write a whole chapter on that in the book as well, about really, if we only have faith in the moments when time is good, that's not faith. It's easy to have faith when you're skipping along, the sun's shining, the birds singing, isn't life wonderful? Real faith is forged in the fires of despair when you're on your hands and knees on the bathroom floor begging the universe. That's when real faith is forged. And so through that dark night, it was really showing me that I truly believed everything I was speaking about, so that I can sit here with you now with my hand on my absolute heart and from a place of deepest truth and integrity say, my faith was tested and I came out stronger on the other side.
Absolutely. Let's just sort of lean into this idea of the dark night of the soul. So again, just to kind of, for people who are listening and so they get a real understanding, because I mention it in my book too, and there are some people write their stories and they've written their stories about their dark nights and what, because we've all had the dark nights and really what it really means. And this idea of being just absolutely like in a place of desperation, despair, real despair, which are human emotions. It's part of the human condition, isn't it? It's part of how we do evolve. So this idea of these incredibly painful parts of our lives, but actually being the sort of, they kind of like polish the pearl, don't they? What was one of your, triggers? What kind of triggered you into a dark night of the soul? And this is, I think, useful for people to understand. I'm just curious for you, like what this time round?
I think it was a combination of quite a few things. I think the pressure of the deadlines of the books was one thing. Then there was a couple of health-related things that came through. And it just felt like there was an awful lot of things coming from an awful lot of directions.
Right.
And I think I'd probably coped with a lot of it for a long time because I'm fairly resilient. But I also feel like I'd maybe been ignoring it. And that's when a lot of dark nights come, or I sometimes call them spiritual stumbles, because I would argue that we learn the most about ourselves in those deeper, darker emotions. And very often, a lot of people again will say, but why does my soul do it in that way? And it's like, because otherwise you wouldn't listen. You wouldn't listen otherwise. So it's only when we're hit with one of those deeper emotions, such as, the deep pain that makes us go like, that's the only time we'll listen. The universe goes, do you know what? We've got to pull out the rug. And then the rug gets pulled, and that's when we have to pay attention. So those are the times really for me that we learn the most about ourselves, about who we truly, truly, truly are. And for me, a dark night is also, it doesn't feel it at the time, but it's a real invite from our soul, because for me, a dark night is one of those moments where a new timeline appears, where your soul knows that you're worth more, you deserve more, there's more waiting, there's a new evolution, there's a new timeline, there's something new waiting for you, and it has to take you into that. So anytime there's a dark night, it's an invite into more of yourself, and you'll learn how to become that version of you in those moments of the real despair.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just been amazing having you on the podcast. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, loved having you on Love, Purpose, Connection. Before you go, I just wanted to know what these words, love, purpose, connection, what they mean to you, because I always ask everyone how they land with you.
I'll tell you what I'd love to touch on, because I was going to mention it then at the end, and I didn't want to interrupt your flow. But the word purpose, I think, is something that so many people are tapped into at the moment. And I really want everyone to hear me when I say this. We often see purpose as being some big elusive thing that lives outside of us. And it's this thing that we'll look at, but we'll never, ever manage to get to. And we're always going to be seeking it. And people might look at people like you and I and go, well, it's all right for you. You found your purpose.
Yeah.
But what they've not seen for both of us is, people ask me often, I want to do what you do. I want to know what you do about astrology. How do I do it? And I'm like, well, spend 20 years doing it. And then, they've not seen the 20 years in the making.
No.
Coming into London today, they've not seen all the days I would sit on the Bakerloo line going up and down and up and down and up and down, teaching yoga classes for like days on end.
Yeah.
So no one's seen what it is to bring us here, But your purpose, and I try, and this is what, if no one takes anything from the podcast apart from this, please take this. Your purpose is to be you. It's not some big elusive thing out there. Your purpose, your main purpose in the world is to just be the you that you came here to be. And so to me, purpose means love and connection, loving myself fiercely, having a deep connection, not only to myself, knowing that I'm always going to be here for myself in any moment, but also then from that being able to have a connection with everybody around me and with the most important connection to me, which is connection to the universe, which all then enables me to live a life of purpose. That all brings me then to purpose.
That's just perfect. Perfect purpose. And I love the fact that you talk about the hard work that goes into doing, that happens behind the scenes and goes into doing what we do, because actually it can look really, as if everyone's just arrived.
Yeah.
But this is what our time is on the planet.
For us to get here.
It's taken a long time. So, there's such a joy in arriving and, those moments of arriving and just get on the path and just...
And also the journey. I look back now, even in writing this book, I wrote a little section of the book around like the young, eager, starry-eyed me who started on this journey like in her late teens. And I look back to her now with such fondness. And I look back to that time with fondness, of those initial moments of seeking, the first time you hear your spirit guides, the first time something lands with you, the first time you get a download, whatever these things might mean to different people. I look back to those times now and think, God, the journey. So I say to people, don't rush the journey.
Yeah.
Like enjoy every step of it, because every part of that journey is leading you. And this isn't the end of our journey.
No.
You and I could probably sit here together in 5 years and do a totally different podcast.
Absolutely.
I would hope we've evolved and grown.
Absolutely. I hope
Me
we do.
too.
And
so this isn't the moment the journey ends, you go back.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
So please just enjoy it. If you're seeking answers, enjoy being in that curious phase where nothing makes sense and let me seek the answers but equally on that, just be mindful of who you seek answers from. Because again, this year we're going to see a bit of a rise in the spiritual charlatan, let's say. So again, I say to people, just be discerning.
Oh, wow.
Just be discerning.
That's interesting.
Yeah, be discerning about where you're going to go to.
Absolutely. Kirsty, it's been a joy to have you on the Love Purpose Connection
Thank you for
podcast.
having me.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Amazing. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to Love Purpose Connection with me, Estelle Bingham. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'd really appreciate that. And if you really liked it, then leave me a review so I can keep doing what I love, healing one heart at a time. You can also follow me, Estelle.Bingham, on Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest releases. If you feel in need of some extra guidance, then my book, Manifest Your True Essence, could be helpful. You can find it online or in any major bookshop. In the meantime, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching, and I will join you on the next episode of the Love Purpose Connection podcast.